That's the important distinction there. You know, you don't have to go from working at a Series A or pre-seed or startup to Google. Like that is a massive jump. You can if you want, like absolutely. But there's a lot
Sure.
in between. There's a lot of growth in between that you can experience different phases of a company. You know, a pre-seed company is very different from a Series A, from a Series B, from a Series C, and so on. And especially a publicly traded company, like a much larger, like Fang type corp, you know, we see these like huge environments where your focus is very narrow, and it has to be because also with like 10,000 other employees. It's great. But at a startup, you're really going to be wearing a lot more hats. The larger the startup gets, the fewer hats you'll start handing those hats to other people. Like, okay, you get to wear this
Yeah.
hat now. I'm putting it away for good. And it's a nice thing to be able to like really start to narrow in on what do you want to be good at and what is going to bring you joy and what is really going to help you grow in your own career. Wherever it takes you, a different company is going to give you a different experience depending on the size they're at.
Our team is a design system team. Even before when I first came, they were a little bit siloed and also had challenges to work out. I feel like it's always interesting because there's always the other side to teach, you know? So whichever side, there's always a teaching moment that we can all learn together and grow together. And I think our team is especially evolved because we had a whole bunch of engineers and very few designers. And now I feel like they're closer because of the way we guys like us pairing and really doing handshakes instead of handoffs because everything is so interconnected. So even if, say, the engineering team needs to look into something, we always have at least a design representative there. And it's the same way vice versa. Everything is really cross-craft and we're very intentional about that. Teams thrive when the designers and engineers are really working and collaborating well. So I feel like this space is super interesting because there's millions of teams that are having the same problem. And once they hit that magic point, I feel like it creates different hybrids. So it's like a lot of people think hybrids are designers and engineers. I have content designers who are also engineers, or engineers that are interested in content or design, right? And so it's like a big mix. They can see that they actually can become better designers or better engineers by learning about the other craft and having more empathy for it.
I used Ruby on Rails for a while whenever I was starting a side thing because it was so easy. It was just so like Rails in it
Hmm.
and you're off and running. You don't need to decide on anything. You just follow the convention and you're just writing business logic and so much of the stupid stuff is extracted away. For the longest time, that just wasn't in the front end ecosystem. It's like just pick all the dependencies and make sure they work well together too. I remember the thing that almost made me abandon React was I was trying to integrate Redux and Redux form into React. And I was running into problems with like Redux form saying, oh, there's a critical bug in React. You have to upgrade to this version of this like release candidate in React to fix it. And so it's not even just like picking the dependencies, it's also making sure that you are on the right version of dependencies that they all work together. Where the remix is just like they've already done that. They've already tested it and make sure it all works. It's not that 100,000 different front end engineers need to figure that all out. It's just the core team needs to figure it out, and then everyone else gets to benefit from it.
In my case, I have kind of an unpopular opinion when it comes to imposter syndrome. I typically like to drop the syndrome part of it, right? I like to look at it as, okay, maybe like I'm an actual imposter. And like in my case, I was objectively coming into Amazon without some skills that every SDE1 gets hired have. Right? I'm like, oh, I'm the only one that doesn't have these skills. And for me, when I was able to drop the syndrome part out of it to say, okay, maybe I really don't have these, like I have to kind of objectively look at myself and reflect and say, okay, I am where I am. I have the skills that I have the background that I did. Maybe I'm at some kind of disadvantages relative to my other peers, but I can take where I am and then recognize what I have to do to acquire those skills. And really, I think that's what it's all about, just having the self-awareness to say, hey, I don't know this right now, but I'm going to go out and learn that. Take that feedback in stride and improve any way that I can because I want to stay here and I want to excel here. So that's kind of the attitude I took in that situation.
It was very challenging and I needed a lot of help because I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to say, no, I can do it. And I have to at least last a year. For me, it was a very huge sign of failure to have to leave a job so suddenly, and it was very challenging for me. It was starting to affect me even physically with all these thoughts like, wow, everybody's going to be so disappointed, or everybody's going to be like, why are you doing this? It got physical, like I couldn't sleep. I would cry. My stomach, you know how when you're nervous or when you're feeling bad, even your stomach resents it. I was going through all sort of emotions, and I just realized, you know what, this is not good for me and I need to take a step back, and that's okay. It's been very challenging because I had never been through this, but I also never stopped working. Like, I've been working for 7 years and never stopping. For the first time in forever, I started waking up and I was like, okay, now what? I didn't have a concrete purpose in my mind, which at the end of the day, I think has been really beneficial for me. I'm finally getting to define that after so many years. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, even when it gets very dark. But yeah, I think that's very important, and thank you so much for having this space to show that.